Hi, I'm Troy and you're watching TroyTube. In this video, we're going to talk about how your WordPress website sends email. By default, WordPress sends email using a thing called PHP-Mailer. PHP-Mailer is basically a function that's built into your web server that allows your website, since your website resides on that server, to use it to send an email. So if you build a form, like we did in the previous video, by default it's just going to use that PHP-Mailer and use the local host, that server, which means the server you're on, your website resides on, to send the email. The other way to send an email is by using SMTP services. So you can use something like SMTP.com, Twilio, some of the different SMTP relay services that you can pay for to send an email. Now, the advantage of doing that is that those services typically have a very high reputation with all the different email services out there. So like Yahoo, AOL, Gmail, all the different email hosting services trust them a lot more because they police the content and the users of their services pretty closely compared to just any random server. And there are things that you can do to your own server to make it a little bit more secure, but on a shared hosting plan, which is going to be the lower cost hosting plans. It's a little bit tougher to do that because you can end up on shared plans with sites that might be questionable or maybe have developed bad reputations or something like that. And the search engines look at some of those things as what neighborhood are you in? If you're in a bad neighborhood and you have websites all around you that are distributing spam and other things that might not be looked upon so highly by the search engines, they may give you a little bit less trust knowing that you're using those services. So if you really want your email to get through and reach the inboxes of the recipients, you might consider using a service like SMTP.com or Sendgrid or Twilio. The Sendgrid is a Twilio service, and let them handle your mail relay, which means when your email sends, it goes to their server and then it sends it on to its destination server for you using its own reputation, and it's that they're set up better to handle those things. You can also use Amazon AWS with products like Sendy, which is SENDY, which is an add-on that you can use with your website to send broadcast emails, bulk emails, things like that. But using a plugin to simply relay off of something like SMTP.com is really easy to do. So I'll switch over to the computer and show you how I use this, and we'll get some more things out of the way here and take a look at how to send better email using a third-party service. So we'll get started by installing a plugin in our WordPress website. So we'll go to Plugins and New, and we're going to search for WP SMTP plugin. And the very first one that comes up should be the WPMail SMTP by WP Forms. So we're going to install that plugin. And once it's installed, we're going to activate the plugin. And it'll usually pop up this setup wizard. I'm going to go back to the dashboard and configure this manually so we can go through each of the settings and take a look at what can be configured. And we can see that it added a menu item over here on the left, so we'll go to WPMail SMTP and go to Settings. And using the light version, you do not need a license key, but if you upgrade to the Pro version, you will get a license key to paste in there. And if we wanted, we can, of course, launch the setup wizard manually. We can control the email that it says it's from, so we could change this to, for example, website at TroyTubeblog.com. And if I wanted, I can force the from email. So if I'm using a plugin such as a form that might let me specify who the email comes from, this will override all of those plugins and force it to say it was from this address. And of course, we can specify the from name, and we can force that as well. And we can set the return path, so when we have a non-delivery, it will go back to that address. And as I mentioned previously, the PHP mailer is the default SMTP or the default mail method. That is allowing your website to use the mail function built into the server because your website resides on that server. And you can use a variety of other options. If you buy the Pro version, you can choose Amazon SES, which is simple email services, or you can use Microsoft Outlook or Zoho Mail, or by default with the Lite version, we can choose any of the others. And you can even choose to send your email using your Gmail account. If you'll remember in a previous video when we set up some of the other features with email services, we had turned on a setting to allow less secure connections, and that would also apply here. So if I chose Gmail, this would be for sending low volumes of mail. So if you send a lot of emails, your Gmail would restrict this and not allow you to do it, or maybe even lock you out of your account. I'm not sure what action they take, but if your site is generating just a few emails here and there, just handfuls, then you could choose Gmail and specify your Gmail credentials and allow it permission to send using your Gmail account. So that would be a very stable way to send email as well. Some of the others will require that you sign up for an account and get basically an API key or something of that nature to permit the sending of the emails. Or we can choose other SMTP if we have another website or an email account that we can relay off of as well. You can usually use these in SMTP mode as well. They will give you the settings for those. But if you're using one of their services, you should probably use the one for them and then set up an account and use the API key in order to relay SMTP email. So in this case, we're going to use Twilio Sendgrid. They do provide a free account to send up to something like 100 emails. So we'll go to sendgrid.com. If we look at our plans and pricing, you'll see they have a free plan. Yes, it says 100 emails per day forever. However, it does come with some restrictions. You do not get dedicated IP addresses and things of that nature. And so the more you pay, the better reputation and more emails that you'll be able to send. But we're going to do this as an example. It works pretty well. So we'll click Start for Free and set up an account. You'll notice your password must have at least 16 characters. And of course, we have to fill out the form to tell them who we are. And now once we are logged in, we need to create a single sender. And as you'll see, it has sent me an email to confirm my account. So I have clicked on the confirmation. And as you see, it sent me an email to verify the sender address that I really do indeed exist as an email user. And so now that we've verified, we just see that it says verified here. And now if I come down here to settings, I can select API key, and I will create an API key with full access. And we have to give the API key a name. And once it shows the API key, you need to copy it. And then we'll go back over to our plugin, and we'll scroll down here, and we'll put the API key in here. And it wants our sending domain. So we'll click Save Settings. Now I do have to make sure that my from email matches what I have set up in my Sendgrid email from. So I did have to change this to match what I put over here in my control panel. So now I've corrected that. Everything is saved. And now I can go over here to the email test. And it says the test email might have sent, but its deliverability could be improved. And one of the things that shows here is we need to add an SPF record. Now, if you'll remember back in the video when I branded my email to be sent from Gmail using my actual domain name, I had to add an SPF record into my DNS in my cPanel, into my hosting control panel. And so we'll take a look at the SPF record that Sendgrid requires. And this is the portion that we want to add to our SPF record. This is just a sample SPF record, and they say that this should be included before the all mechanism in your SPF. So we'll go over to cPanel, we'll go to our zone editor, we'll manage our DNS, and then we'll look for our text record that has the SPF. We'll edit that. I'll make this one line so you can see it a little better. And we'll paste that right in there before the all mechanism like it's specified. And it might take a few minutes for this to take effect. So we'll send an email test to my email address. We'll click send. And if you notice, it passes the SPF check now. That did not take as long as I thought it would. The time to live on the zone is 14,400 seconds, which is 4 hours, but it looks like it took effect pretty quickly. It does give you a warning here that you could implement DKIM and DMARC to further secure your email. They're not typically required, but I do recommend that you set up DKIM on your account. It's real easy to do. It's just adding another text record, and they provide the information that you have to basically paste in there so that this is a digital signature that matches from Sendgrid to your DNS host to tell other mail servers that your email is basically digitally signed and it's coming from its original sender. So you can do that if you'd want, but definitely the SPF record is something we want in there. And as you can see, the test email came through just fine, and it says from TroyTube blog via sendgrid.net. So that confirms that my email did indeed go from my website to Sendgrid, and then it was delivered on my behalf. It came in without going to my spam folder or anything like that. So there you have it. It's pretty easy to set up. On my website, I actually use smtp.com. It's a very similar process to Sendgrid. I pay for the $25 a month plan to send. I think it's like 50,000 emails a month that my website can send. My website for troygraham.com gets about 1,000 to 1,500 visitors a day, so it does send a fair amount of emails, and I think it's worth paying for. It works real well. But Sendgrid, any of these solutions will work well for relaying your mail. Or if you pay for the pro version, you can send using Amazon SES. In that case, if you choose to do that, you can also use it with a product called Sendy, Sendy. I think I mentioned that before, that you can do broadcast email marketing. And it can help build up a reputation with Amazon SES so that they permit your emails to go out. And the more you use it, the better your reputation is, and the more they will allow you to send without blocking your emails or throttling them or anything like that. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below.